Beautiful brothers and sisters, welcome Soul Family. I'm Geeia Ariati of Sound Heart and Sound Mind, and I was not dropped into the fullness of what wanted to be expressed, and I believe that is why my technical difficulties occurred. And so I would love to receive those who are online. Please share what it is that called you forth in this transmission. What is it that resonates to receiving that of the teachings that comes through me? And where are you receiving from? Where are you in the world? Where are we weaving this beautiful quantum web and allowing these activations to be met through time and space, not only in the land that you reside on, acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land, past, present, and emerging, and honoring the guardians of the codes of the earth in this moment. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I ask for safe passage through the realms and through this transmission and sharing. So there has been a beautiful, beautiful message from Source this morning. One that I have been waiting for. One that I have been so extremely excited to receive in relation to the initiations of the Christos Brotherhood, or the men that are a part of the Emerald Order, the bringers of change that are in male form. And so a lot of what I'm going to speak into today is conflicting to the spiritual belief systems and quite a challenge for the cognitive mind as relation to the roles of men and women, and also the distortions and, let's just call it, the fuckery of our collective conditioning that keeps us from really owning our roles, really owning our individuality, our magic, and what we came here to be. And it is a fucking sensitive topic to some, and I am aware that what I'm saying may be extremely triggering, as it has been extremely triggering for me. It has been an aspect of consciousness that I have not met with open arms and embrace. And the roles of men and women was something that, for me, being an extremely masculine woman based on the trauma and my need to protect myself from a very covert and wounded feminine upbringing of the primary caregiver in my life, not to mention all of the adversities that I experienced. That's what kept me alive. And so for an extremely masculine woman to be standing in the truth of that, of her divine feminine expression in form, unified, now this is where it can be challenging, is that the men are being raised into their unified expression of their divine masculine pillar. Okay? So this is starting to be initiated, activated, and brought through in the collective. And one of the first things I will say is the war against man and woman would be wonderful if we ceased this comparison, competition, and projection that was and is placed upon each of us, so that we can actually harness and love what we bring to the table. Because man and woman in this reality, in our 3D construct of what we are in, our roles are very different. And we chose this incarnation for a specific reason. We chose this incarnation so that we could experience this specific vessel. Now, so one of the first things that I'd like to share is when you first chose to come to Earth in this incarnation, you chose to come in a form that you were going to master and become the pure expression of source in that form. So you either chose a divine masculine or you chose a divine feminine. And we were actually not supposed to change physical vessel and experience through a different lens of the physicality. Now, there is a lot of distortion, fragmentation as to why this happened. There was an aspect of trying to hide who we were, to create multiple masks so that we could basically manipulate time, space, dimensions, and universal laws so that we could avoid leaving the realms of the 3D to meet our divine justice councils, we'll say. And in that there was swapping of consciousness, there was also swapping of templates, there was swapping of codes, and that's where we have become distorted in, whilst also evolving, our physicality of what we hold in the now moment. So all of my earth incarnations, bar one, I have been feminine. I have also been a priestess, a conduit, and an oracle. And the only time that I was in masculine form was when I took on the templates and the codes and the information from a brother that was requiring to hide and suppress and we'll say trick humanity of who he be and who I be. And so this is where the manipulation of our essence in our soul's form has happened. How that's important is in relation to our masculine and feminine coding in this incarnation. So if you are a man, you are here to be a divine masculine pillar. No exceptions. That's a trigger point, so aware that that will bring things up for people. The only reason that we ever believe we are anything other than what we are is based on trauma, based on the inversion templates that sit within the field, and the experience that we have, the sum of experience that we have yet to reconcile and meet in totality and truth. And so for our current society for men, and if you don't know, I primarily was a men's coach in the beginning stages of my coaching and mentoring professional career. And yet I have been initiating coaching, healing, and working with men my entire incarnation cycle and beyond, as that is a role to the High Priestess. And we have these initiations for each other because we are polarities, we are opposites in our coding, and we gift a mirror to see oneself through the lens of the other. And so I have researched and understand man in this reality in a way that most women have no clue about, or how to understand men in this reality, based on the amount of research and also the desire to heal myself. I could not heal my feminine wounding without understanding why men were the way they were, because to me it didn't make sense why they did what they did to me. So through my self-healing journey, I learned not only self, but I understood man and the masculine and feminine relationship of the cosmic connection to all that is in the nature of yin and yang in the universe. And in that journey, I have come to know that we are fragmented at such a level of separation from our essence that we display ourselves in this incarnation in a way that is not our truth. And so men are extremely emasculated. The feminine movement, or the New Age feminine movement, basically has created a fear for men to be their true essence, their self, their strength, their potency, their power. And that has caused a further fragmentation to a man rejecting his own masculinity, rejecting his own truth, and further fragmenting himself by becoming more feminine. And as a man in this reality awakens, he often goes into the feminine expression of spirituality. And spirituality, sure, it allows an understanding of the feminine energy. It allows for access to spirit, embodiment, and movement, and all of the beautiful gifts of life. And these experiences are not for one gender. That is not what I am saying. So let's be very clear about what I am stating. I am stating that the spiritual environment that is supporting our men currently is based on a feminine way, the beauty way, the way of connecting to spirit in the lens of feminine embodiment. It is not supportive of the masculine. And although this allows an initiation, it allows a different lens, it allows for an opening, it does tend to bring men further out of their truth, whilst also healing their trauma. So, like all things in this reality, there is a positive and a negative lens, and yet there is a tool and a process of evolution. So, the men that are stuck in their spiritual expression of embodiment through the feminine way or the beauty way, this is a stage. It's a stage of seeing oneself through the feminine lens, getting in touch with the emotions, vulnerability, allowing for intuition, but it is not the way for the divine masculine pillar. It is what we are being initiated in through our current life experience. Now, if we lived in a different reality, hypothetically, if we were able to gift this awareness through a feminine lens for a man in this reality, to see femininity through a feminine embodied expression of divine unified source, man would not need to pull away from his essence to explore femininity, because he would experience it and be activated and initiated into it through its truth and its purity. Whether or not he decides to go do ecstatic dance, yoga, art, and all of those things, it will still be his truth that he's expressing through his own connection to source, and not through a distorted lens of feminine connection to source. For someone who has spent most of my spiritual awakening trying not to polarize my experience and coming into the unification of realization that I have a man and a woman within me, and that they are actually one and not separate from each other, and that is the conditioning that we believe that they are. In presence, in true presence, right here, right now. If you're present with me, take 3 deep breaths, breathing in, breathing out, breathing in, breathing out, breathing in, breathing out. Sorry, I can't help myself. Miataya koria tekeria shatukoyana. Come into presence with me. Miatoria kiandina. Daya satakaria shatukoria kiariana. Mo osatukoyana for the man watching right now. Miatekeriana. Be present in your pillar. Miataya toria kiate kiaria tukoyana. And receive. Miatete kiate kiate kiate. The feminine expression of divinity. Daya kaya taya 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 through me. Miataya sutukoria tekiandina. What does that bring up in your body? Baria sutukoshtukoria tekiandina. When the feminine is expressing through her divinity, you will feel activated into yours. And that is a different feeling to what you're seeking through the feminine or the beauty way. And so the current challenge for the masculine or the men, I'm going to say men. There is a difference between masculine, feminine, man and woman. And we are unified within ourselves in this present moment. There is no division. What you be right here, right now, is an energetic representation in presence of your unified self. Yum. What does that feel like to you? As you self-realize what you be, you will understand that there is no division between yin and yang within yourself. There is just an expression through your physical form. And in presence, you cannot divide. Presence is the key for both feminine and masculine expressions in their male and female form. So, what is the point of what I am saying? The point of what I'm saying is that men in our reality are supported by a base foundational structures of a distorted lens of finding themselves. We look at men's work, and men's work is also distorted. And I apologize to all of the male coaches in previous timelines of this incarnation that I have done interviews with, that I have supported their work. I no longer resonate to that stage of men's work because it tends to keep a man divided from seeing the truth of what he is. Yes, there is an aspect of sacred rage and physicality and primal masculinity that is important. And yet, when we become stuck in those lenses, we actually disconnect from ourselves because we go too far into our masculine yang expression and not our present essence of being in unification. And so these expressions of consciousness are a tool to evolve beyond. And neither of these current structures or modalities for men are supportive. And so men in our current reality of the bringers of change are about 3 to 4 years behind in their evolution than women in our reality. Now, I know where there's going to be a lot of questions of the women about rising the men and the women are leading, etc., etc. Yes and no. Okay, the feminine is not initiating the masculine. Feminine is an energy. Yin is an energy. Yang is an energy. They coexist within ourselves in unification at once, and we have an energetic signature from that unified expression. So the yin is not initiating the yang. They are initiating each other simultaneously in every single moment. Where there is creation, there is the void. Cannot be any other way. That is universal truth. So the yin is not initiating the yang, and they are co-initiating each other. So what does that mean? That means that the female, the woman in our current reality, are mostly, for the most part, more evolved than the men. It does not change the balance of unity or inner expression of truth. It is because of the journey and the conditioning that has taken place within our society to emasculate men, to suffocate men, and to through the spiritual community being that of a feminine based leadership, that it's been more supportive to women to evolve, not for any other reason. The only reason being that there is not enough embodiment for a unified man. There is not enough practices, there is not enough programs, there is not enough circles, there is not enough rites of passage that are true for the man of the modern day remembrance journey. That is all. Now, the beautiful thing about this is that because we are guiding each other home, that as the man recognizes his true essence and his unified self, and woman allow themselves to evolve and be supported by man in her life, there becomes a balance, and the men of this reality can evolve at a much faster rate to catch up, we'll say, than women. Because women have been fumbling their way through it, so they've learned a few things. So the High Priestess journey, if we look at it from the history level into the now moment, the High Priestess is a conduit, or the female vessel. The female vessel is a conduit. Women have the ability with intuition, with spirit, with receiving frequency, emotion, energy in a way that is guided in its expression through the female form to be expressed through the feminine way. So there's a level of unified expression that comes through in this way for a woman. Now the man is here to express in a different way. They are the penetrators. They are the builders. They are the physical creators. They are the logistical, scientific, and philosophical ones to create the frameworks and the structures, okay? That is masculine. It is the frame, it is the holding in the physical reality. That is the role of man. We have stepped so far from our role of man and woman that we are distorted in what we are gifting. Just checking that my video is still on. We are distorted in our gifting of each other because we've stepped away from our natural roles to each other, which is a fragmentation, a distortion, a continual division of unity. Man and woman need each other. A woman, if she really recognizes her essence, her truth, needs a man. She is the nurturer. She is the holder. She is the homemaker. She is the lover. She is the healer. She is the filler. However you want to perceive that in the physical reality. It does not mean that she does not have inspired action. It does not mean that she does not have an ability to harness her masculine energy and create. It means that in her essence, in her fullest truth, that she has the feminine beauty way. And the masculine is his warrior. He is the pillar. He is the penetrator. And the only way for us to truly harness what we are to each other is to recognize this. In the most simplest way, I had a beautiful masculine very early in my journey of surrendering into my feminine. He out-masculined me. So this is one of the most interesting things about masculine and feminine energy, is that he held such a strong masculine essence and presence that my false masculinity that kept me safe and provided for and alive in this reality defaulted into my essence. And that was fucking terrifying. Absolutely terrifying for me at the time. Luckily, I had educated myself so much in the men and the woman's way, and masculine and feminine relating, and yin and yang in unification, that I knew what was happening to me. He allowed me to surrender, defaulted me. Like I literally had no other option other than to surrender to him. So, what does that show you? One, a masculine energy fully in his essence, his divine masculine presence, no matter how healed he is or isn't, connected to his self, so he knows thyself, his essence in male form, gives the opportunity for a woman to actually default into her feminine essence. And guess what? Vice versa. We are initiating each other. If I choose to be this expression of my feminine presence in unification in self, then I allow for every man that I do work with, conscious recognitions through quantum realms, through self-realization, through embodiment practices, through breath, through whatever is being called forth. If I hold my feminine truth, he defaults into his masculine, into his essence of truth. He is strong, he is powerful, he's primal, he's turned on. That's another challenge when you start recognizing this, is that we are turned on by each other in our truth. We are turned on by authenticity of connection to source energy and Kundalini rising. A man in his pillar is within his expression of the Shiva, although it is unified within. And the woman is her expression of the Shakti, unified. These are energy signatures. Energy signatures are not man and woman. Shiva and Shakti are not really, in their highest vibrational truth, female or male. They are an energetic signature that dance and weave together and come into a complementary expression. So the journey that I have been on as an unconscious high priestess was that I was initiating men through my feminine way by being the loving, unconditional presence of the mother that they never had, the girlfriend that never saw them, the love that they never felt from woman. That is how a woman initiates a man, and how a woman can be the perfect guide for a man to remember who he is. Because we have not received man and woman in totality. Most. No, I certainly have not. Through my childhood and my upbringing. So my distorted lens of what man and woman is was extremely challenging to decondition. As this women are more evolved expression currently, just accepting that, okay? If we just accept that as the truth and we stop pushing against it, we can harness it and see the beauty of it. That woman, as she remembers to stay in her truth, her essence, she is the love, the holding, the nurture. She provides the ability for the man to release his trauma easily, gently, yet empowering, because he can recognize that all of the things that he believed he was, weak, the weakness of vulnerability, the weakness of sensitivity, the weakness of feeling, the weakness of emotion can be met by a woman that can hold him in that so he can transmute it and come into the strength that is right there. She will not help him heal if she tries to coach him, if she tries to tell him how to be a man, if she tries to guide him to be more masculine. She will further fragment him. So the high priestess worked with the high priest. Oh, what a surprise! Through the temple spaces, and they had different roles to each other. The woman was a feminine expression of source. The masculine or the men were a masculine expression of source without division. They held different roles where the male expression could hold space for the divine Shakti or the spirit energy to come forth. And a big part of initiating a man into his truth is he learns to hold his pillar. To hold his pillar. What does that mean to men of our society? That means learning to hold your sex. It means learning to anchor your sexual energy. It means learning not to project your sensual, sexual turned onness around someone like thyself onto her. It means holding it within you. It means she can dance, sing, play, self-pleasure, be in connection to spirit within her embodied expression, and he can hold his warrior of light. That is really hard for men of today. How I will explain that for men and women, because most haven't recognized it, or they have and they've shamed it, is that when a man hugs a very connected woman, he gets turned on. He gets activated. He is sexually activated. And then he goes into either A, shaming himself because he's felt sexually activated. B, he pulls away, contracts. Or 3, he juices himself, slimes himself onto her because he can't hold himself. This is one of the most biggest and most powerful recognitions that we could have around male and female. Now, what happens with her in a hug when she feels him? When she feels him contract, she usually loses her expression. She wants to seduce him in some way, to open him in some way. She leaves her essence in this external, filling, pleasing feeling. If he loses his pillar and he slimes on her, what happens? She usually contracts. Oh, she pulls back out of her essence. She disconnects. What would happen if she could just hold her essence and recognize the truth of this? The distortions of our conditioning. We are shamed, we are wronged, and we have not learned to hold ourselves in our truth. This is one expression of how we can use our daily life to initiate ourselves into our truth. Woman can start to learn to be unconditional love in those moments. It does not mean allowing for behavior that is not honoring to her. It means that she will stay in her essence and love and be full and be connected and allow yet she will speak to what does not align with her, and she will express that. That is not a boundary. I was having a discussion with a beautiful being yesterday around boundaries. He's a very strong masculine. He's a very strong yang. I'm a very strong yin in form, unified in individuality, autonomous in our own expressions. And we were talking about how boundaries are actually limitations. Boundaries are not real when you have transcended them into being able to speak your truth. A boundary is a tool, like all tools, that you evolve out of. If you place a boundary, you are basically cutting off energy in the field. A boundary is a no-choice universe. It means that you have fully limited yourself. And yes, the conscious community will say our boundaries move and change, etc., etc. But a boundary is something that is there until you feel safe within your body, until you feel safe that you can speak your needs. It's also a limitation. It is both. And so if we allowed ourselves to recognize we are not limited, if we bypassed, why do I say that? If we chose to skip the current steps of evolution, if we were able to access our essence, if we were able to connect to our own divinity in our male or female form, which is what the temple spaces of the High Priestess and the High Priest were doing, if we were able to step beyond these steps of ego development and up the consciousness scale and the spiral dynamics expressions, because what they do is they do limit you. They say that you have to go like this. It's not true. It's why someone like Eckhart Tolle could go from here to here. Some people like myself have done that, only to go, oh, you don't have to. I did, but you don't have to. I went the long way, but what if you remembered what I know and accessed that straight away? If you connected, you could transcend all of those steps. Doesn't that sound fun? Doesn't that sound exciting, curious, powerful, potent? So the High Priestess, when she's in her truth, she is a vessel for Source to create that ginormous leap into oneself, because she is a channel of Source energy. When you connect to someone who is a pure channel, you meet yourself. You remember who you are. And once you remember who you are, you just remember and keep returning home, returning home, returning home. Anything that is not home is not true. It's a reminder that you stepped outside of yourself. It's a reminder that you cut off from yourself. It's a reminder that you are not your essence in form. For woman to be this in whatever expression we are, right? We are not all high priestesses. Not every woman has the capacity that I have or other women in this level of source directive have. That's a reality. That is the truth. That is uncomfortable. There will be some form along this evolutionary process of a woman, a divine expression of feminine unification in female form, whatever that looks like. And when she is outside of that expression of herself, she will not feel fulfilled. The same for men. Maria sete queria shatukoreandaya te queria tutukoyana. Me ekeria tutukoyaki baha shikiataya o koende. Mo ondo ekeria takariana eshkiandai. Mo osato korea keria tutukorea takiandi. Ba akiaria shatukoya. Ma asa takaria te takarianai. Me esha takeria satukoya. Mo satukoya. Mo satukoya kia kia kiana. No oria tatatataya kiandiana. Now, women need the masculine to hold that foundation so they can surrender into what they are. To be the space for us to bring the new structures into the new earth, we need to recognize this. As much as every part of my human female wants to say, I don't need a man, ugh, it kills me to say this out loud. Because I'm an independent woman. Blech. Because I've remembered that I do. I've remembered that I do. And in that, I can be more of my true essence, my true self, and be of service in my purpose. My purpose is not the same as a man. My purpose is very different. And that's beautiful, magical, mesmerizing. And so the men of our now initiations are realizing this. I would like to invite you into a step of unifying yourself with your truth faster, so that you don't have to go the long way around, so that we can catch up to each other, so that we can support what is being brought into the physicality of the material world. I'd like to invite all men watching this into a transmission that I am bringing forth, and that is an initiation into your divine masculine pillar, the essence of who you be. To remember it at an energetic level and to see it through your own perception. Men receive the world differently. They see it from an outside lens and then they reflect that back in on themselves. Women see the world from an inside lens and then project that out onto the world. The way we see, the way we be, it is different. It just is. Let's stop playing God. Maya sata keria shito korea sata kiandaya te Diana ore akiande mi akiandiana. What is relevant in my story to share? Is there anything here? There's something for the priestess, for the women that are already evolving, for the women that are bringing in these codes, this remembrance that they are being their feminine expression. Remember to stay in your feminine and stop trying to turn men into women. That's one. Stay in your feminine and be love. Stay in your feminine and be expression. Stay in your feminine and speak your truth. We do not have to physically exchange remembrance. We do not have to physically exchange codes. I'm speaking to this because most of the embodiment stage of evolution believe that we do it through sexual exploration. This is a distortion. We don't need to physically exchange anything, and when we do physically exchange, we're often further creating a level of wounding. It's coming from a place of wounding. If we want to physically exchange energy with someone because we want their codes, or we want their remembrance, or we want to experience them to see ourselves, be aware that there is ways to do it. What is the true way? Is the true way to be sexual with someone? Is the true way to be sensual with that person? Or is it to recognize why you're feeling activated into those energies and ask more questions around what is a more aligned truth with who you be? That is my one request for women. My one request for man is that you give yourself permission to be vulnerable, and yet recognize that your level of vulnerability, your way of being vulnerable, your expression of feeling and emotion is not that of the feminine's way. To recognize that your feeling and your emotion is not weak, it is strength, and yet your expression of vulnerability is usually expressing your internal truth through conviction. This is how I see the world. This is what I am feeling about you. This is what I feel about life. This is what I'm questioning in my reality. This is what I think because I'm thinking. That's how I function as a masculine. I use primarily my mind unified with my body. My mind is brain is body. You interpret feeling through the brain. And so your consciousness and the way you express in your limited lens of being a male will be different. You're not expected to have the emotional overwhelm or healing the way a woman does. So let's stop comparing. Let's stop trying to make man see woman and woman see man and to be like each other, and start educating of how I see the world. How do you experience the world? To start to share, to start to ask questions, to start to acknowledge, and to start to rise together. I love you. I love you so, so deeply. Please share all of the things that you have to say about this transmission in the comments below. Please share with those in your life that feel that they are ready to receive these truths. And please reach out if you're a man that would like to receive this initiation transmission. And if you are a woman that would like to understand how to connect to your unique essence. Or for couples that are continuing the path of separation because there is confusion as to how you see the world and confusion as to how you see yourself, so that we can organize some spaces for you to meet your truth and evolve together. I love you. I love you. I love you. It is done.